Chosen one. Pause and let this truth enter your spirit. The long season of testing has come to a close. You did not bow to despair. Even when shadows pressed against you, you did not abandon the path. Those storms roared. Heaven watched. And now heaven speaks. You passed. Your struggles were not wasted. Every silent tear became a seed. Every lonely prayer became a brick laid in the foundation of your destiny. You thought you were breaking, but in truth, you were being built. Just like a sword must feel the fire before it gleams with strength, you too were placed in the furnace so that all weakness would burn away and only endurance remain. Do you remember the nights when your heart whispered, "God, are you even there?" You felt abandoned. Yet even in that silence, the Spirit was near, closer than your breath. The silence was not absence, it was preparation. God wanted to see if you would stand even when the applause faded, even when the path grew dark, and you did. Picture yourself as a lighthouse on a stormy shore. The winds scream, the waves crash, but the light does not flicker. Ships find direction not because the lighthouse moves with the storm, but because it stands unshaken. That has been you, unseen by many, but guiding countless souls just by refusing to collapse. Now the shift comes. Where there was drought, streams are breaking open. Where there was emptiness, provision flows. God Himself is stepping in as your provider, not merely giving you enough to survive, but releasing resources to fund the very purpose for which you were born. Your destiny is no longer under the weight of human limitation, it is under divine supply. I recall a chosen one, a man who labored faithfully in obscurity. While others mocked his slow progress, he kept sowing into people's lives. Quietly, consistently. Then, in a single moment, God accelerated him into influence and positioned him before kings. What seemed like wasted years became the platform of his testimony. You are about to witness the same pattern, the season of hidden labor erupting into sudden elevation. Lift your eyes now, because this is not just encouragement, it is decree. You will see doors swing open that logic cannot explain. You will encounter favor in places your name was never mentioned before. Unexpected provision will track you down not by chance, but by divine orchestration. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 7. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him. They will be like a tree planted by the water. That is you, chosen one. Your roots have gone deep in seasons of waiting. Others rushed ahead and withered, but you endured. And now your branches will stretch out, bearing fruit in plain sight. Your supply will not run dry, for the stream you draw from is not of this world. If this word pierces your spirit, let it echo back. Press like. Share this with someone who needs confirmation. And subscribe so that you stay aligned with future declarations. And as an act of faith, write 777 inches the comments. This is your prophetic marker. Covenant overflow begins now. Your test is over. Your funding begins. Chosen one. Do not underestimate what has just shifted in your life. When heaven makes a decree, no earthly power can cancel it. The very fact that you are hearing these words is proof that timing has aligned. What once resisted, you will now be forced to release its hold. You will begin to notice divine patterns. Conversations that seem accidental yet carry answers you prayed for. Doors you never knocked on opening with welcome, and opportunities flowing to you without the striving that once drained you. This is the difference between human effort and God's funding. Take this moment seriously. Write it down. Mark this day, because when the testimonies begin, you will need a reminder that it was not luck, not coincidence, but the hand of God moving on your behalf. This is how destiny unfolds, quiet at first, then suddenly undeniable. And as you carry this revelation, let it not end with you. Speak it. Share it. Let others be reminded that God has not forgotten them either. When you testify, you multiply faith. When you shine, you awaken hope in those still sitting in the shadows. This is your assignment now. Chosen one. The truth must settle into your heart. You are marked for destiny. This mark is not a scar from your past. Though you carry many, it is not a label the world places on you. Though they have tried to define you, it is a seal of heaven. The same way a king presses his signet ring into wax, leaving an impression that cannot be erased, so has the Spirit pressed identity into your soul. No hand of man can remove it. That is why you have felt different all along. You could not blend in, even when you tried. You noticed what others ignored. You carried burdens that others shrugged off, while many chased after shallow rewards. Your heart longed for something deeper, something eternal. That tension you felt was not rejection, it was proof that you are set apart. Think of the shepherd boy David. His brothers lined up in front of Samuel, polished and impressive. Yet the oil refused to flow for them. When David walked in, smelling of sheep, overlooked by family, the oil leapt from the horn. Heaven recognized him. The world said, not qualified. But the seal of God said, chosen. In the same way, your anointing does not ask for permission from human voices. It flows because you are marked. Sometimes this marking feels heavy. You wonder why your road is narrower. Why compromise eats at you more deeply than it does others? But the narrowness is not punishment, it is direction. A jet cannot take off on a winding dirt road. It needs a clear runway. God has been clearing your runway by closing doors others freely walk through. Every no you received was heaven's way of keeping your path aligned. Imagine a diamond hidden inside a lump of rock. At first glance, it seems ordinary. Yet when the jeweler sees the faint glimmer, he marks it. That mark says, "This one will not stay hidden." You are that diamond. Life may have covered you in rough edges, but the mark guarantees your unveiling. A chosen one once shared her journey. Years of being passed over for promotions. Years of feeling invisible in the very place where she gave her all. She questioned if God had made a mistake with her life. Yet in one moment, the mark revealed itself. She was called into a room she never expected to enter. And suddenly, the recognition poured in. Her name, once ignored, became the key to a season of abundance. That is what the seal of heaven does. It waits, and then it erupts. The ancient words recorded in Romans chapter 8, verse 30 remind us, those he predestined, he called; those he called, he justified; those he justified, he also glorified. You see, your journey has never been random. It has been a divine order, predestined before you ever breathed your first cry, called when others dismissed your voice, justified when your past screamed against you. But mercy spoke louder. Glorified, this is the season you step into. When the hidden marking becomes visible to all, do not despise the marking. It has cost you friendships. It has cost you comfort. But it has preserved your purpose. Think of it as a compass etched into your soul. Even when you tried to wander, it kept pointing you back. Even when you rebelled, something inside refused to settle. That is the mark at work. And yes, there were times you wished it away. You thought, why can't I just live like everyone else? But the truth is, you were never created for everyone else. You were created to disturb the darkness, to shift atmospheres, to carry light where others shrink back. That is why you carry unusual battles, because you carry unusual destiny. Let this sink in. Being marked does not mean being perfect. David still failed. Peter still stumbled. Paul still bore scars. The mark does not erase humanity. It redeems it. It takes what is weak and makes it strong in God's hands. It takes what is ordinary and transforms it into a vessel of glory. Chosen one. Your mark is not fading, it is shining brighter. Every test of Section 1 was to reveal the depth of your endurance. Now in Section 2, you see why. Because the mark must be displayed. People will begin to notice. They may not understand it, but they cannot deny it. There is something about you that cannot be ignored, like a flame hidden under glass. You have burned quietly, but the glass is cracking. The fire will breathe free air, and it will spread. You are not just chosen for survival, you are chosen for demonstration. The mark will show in your words, in your presence, even in your silence. And those who once overlooked you will have no choice but to acknowledge what heaven has already decreed. Chosen one. The battles that no one applauded were the very ones that shaped you. People see your smile, but they do not know the nights you whispered prayers through tears. They see your strength, but they do not know the trembling that came before it. What looked like silence was actually the battlefield where heaven trained you in secret. You carried wars inside your mind, fears that tried to choke hope, doubts that shouted louder than truth, temptations that promised quick escape but left only emptiness. And yet, you stood, maybe wobbly, maybe scarred, but you stood. This is why you are still here, because hidden victories are the strongest ones. Think of Hannah in the temple. No one saw the crushing weight of her heart, only her lips moving. Even the priest misunderstood her, but her silent battle produced a prophet who would anoint kings. Your unseen struggles are carrying fruit far greater than you realize. What you endured is preparing a harvest beyond you. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Lo, can you see it in your stillness? He was fighting in your silence. He was moving in your hidden battles. He was carving strength into your spirit that nothing can erase. You did not fight alone, even when it felt like it. Picture yourself as a lantern in a cave. The darkness presses hard. The walls seem endless. Yet the small flame refuses to die. That flame not only keeps you alive, it prepares the path for those who will come after you. Every hidden battle you survived became light for someone else's journey. Now, this is your moment of declaration. Do not just hear respond. Type these words in the comments. Still standing. Oh, Why? Because it is not merely a phrase, it is a prophecy. When you write, "Still standing," you are not just describing your past, you are announcing your future. You are declaring that no storm, no loss, no secret battle has buried you. It is a line drawn in the sand, a testimony that the hidden fights could not take your crown. So let the world know what heaven already knows. Still standing, and in that stand, your next victory is already unfolding. You may not realize it now, but your hidden endurance is the very credential that heaven honors. Many chase recognition, but recognition without roots collapses. You, however, have roots that run deep into God's faithfulness. That is why the winds that uprooted others could not uproot you. There is power in saying, "Still standing." It is not just a description of survival, but a declaration of resilience. It means you have been through what could have broken you, but you emerged unbroken. It means the fire refined you, but did not consume you. It means the valley shadowed you, but could not steal your light. Think of Job, stripped of everything, even misunderstood by his closest circle. Yet when the dust settled, he was still standing, and God restored more than he lost. That restoration came not because Job avoided pain, but because he endured through it. Your story holds the same principle. Restoration follows endurance. When you type "still standing," you testify not only to people, but also to spiritual realms. Heaven nods in agreement. Yes, my child endured. Hell trembles in frustration. We tried, but could not destroy. And the world around you receives inspiration. If they endured, maybe I can too. Your testimony multiplies courage. Imagine a soldier returning from war. His armor is dented, his body scarred, but his flag is still in his hand. The dents are not shame, they are proof of victory. In the same way, your scars are evidence that you fought real battles. And still, you carry your banner of faith. You may wonder, why did my battle remain unseen? Because hidden victories build inner authority. Public victories impress people, but hidden ones impress heaven. God trusted you with secret wars because he knew you would not abandon him when no one clapped for you. That trust is now becoming your elevation. Do not think lightly of this moment. To declare "still standing" is to announce that your hidden training season is complete. It means you are ready for visible assignments, ready for doors that once seemed locked, ready for God to place you where your light can no longer be hidden. So, take courage. Your unseen battles were the birthplace of your authority. And today, when you say it, still standing, you align with the truth that what could have buried you instead prepared you. You did not only endure, you graduated. Chosen one. When the atmosphere around your life begins to shift, you can feel it before you see it. It starts subtly. Doors that once refused to budge begin to creak open. Conversations turn in your favor. And what used to feel like resistance suddenly begins to give way. That is what is happening to you right now. The spiritual climate over your life is changing. It is like the first hint of spring after a long winter. At first, the snow still lingers on the ground, but you notice the birds returning. You hear the sound of water as the ice melts. Life is stirring, quietly, but certainly. You may not yet see the full bloom, but the shift has begun, and nothing can stop the season that follows. For a long time, it seemed as though the heavens were brass over you. Your prayers went up, but no answers seemed to come down. You sowed in tears and saw no harvest. But this was not abandonment. It was gestation, like a child forming in the womb, unseen, but undeniably alive. Your breakthrough has been developing in silence. Now, it is ready to be birthed. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Habakkuk. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. Now, do you hear it? Your waiting was never wasted. The delay was not denial, it was preparation. The vision you thought was lost is still alive. And now the appointed time is unfolding. Heaven's calendar is not late, though it felt unbearable in your waiting. Imagine an archer pulling back the string of a bow to the arrow. It feels like being pulled further and further away from the target. But the tension is not punishment, it is power. When the release comes, the arrow flies farther than it could have ever gone without that pull. Your setbacks have been divine pullbacks, preparing you for accelerated release. Consider Joseph. One day he wore a coat of many colors. The next he was thrown into a pit, then sold into slavery, then falsely accused, then imprisoned. It looked like every door was closing, like his life was spiraling downward. But in reality, each closed door was guiding him toward the palace. The atmosphere was shifting behind the scenes. And when the time came, Pharaoh's call lifted him in a single day. That is how God works slowly, invisibly. Then suddenly, you may not notice the small adjustments happening around you, but soon the suddenly will manifest. You will find yourself in rooms you never dreamed of entering, carrying authority you never thought possible, and you will know, without doubt, that it was God's shift, not your striving. Picture standing in a desert where nothing grows. For years, the ground is cracked and barren. Then one morning you notice a tiny green sprout pushing through the dust. At first it looks fragile, but it carries the power of a whole season. The air itself feels different. The desert is no longer empty, but pregnant with life. That sprout is your sign. The atmosphere has changed. Chosen one. Trust what you sense. You may not yet see the full picture, but the weight in your spirit is confirmation. God is orchestrating alignments beyond your sight. People are being moved. Opportunities are being prepared, and circumstances are being shaped to fit your story. What once seemed impossible is now becoming inevitable, and when the atmosphere shifts, so does your posture. You no longer walk heavy with despair, but lighter with expectation. You no longer bow your head in defeat, but lift your eyes in hope. Even your words change. You speak as one who knows the rain is coming, not as one doubting if clouds will ever form. This is the reality you step into now. The season of closed heavens has ended, and the sky above you is opening. The shift is not only around you, it is within you. You carry peace where you once carried panic, boldness where you once carried fear. That inner shift is proof that the outer shift is near. Chosen one. Breathe deeply. The air has changed. The storm is passing, and the dawn is breaking. Everything is aligning for the appointed time, and nothing can stop what God has already begun. The first signs may look small, but they are holy. Every whisper of change is confirmation that heaven has moved in your favor. Hold these signs close. They are the evidence that waiting was never empty. It was sacred preparation for release. Chosen one. Your atmosphere is shifting, and your steps are steady. Chosen one. Listen closely. Something powerful has shifted in your life. The season of struggle, where you questioned whether you would have enough, is now being exchanged for a season of provision. Not scraps, not leftovers, but resources that flow in alignment with your destiny. Provision has been assigned to you. You must understand, when God funds your destiny, it is never about luxury, but about mission. The manna that fell in the wilderness was not given so Israel could hoard. It was given so they could walk forward, step by step, into the land promised. In the same way, what is coming to your hands will not be random, it will be precise. God gives you what is needed to take the next step in His plan for your life. Think of it this way: a river flows because it has an outlet. If it only collects, it becomes stagnant. But when it flows outward, it stays fresh and alive. Your provision works the same. God gives into your hands so that through you, others can drink, others can rise, others can see His goodness. You are becoming a channel, not a container. There was once a young man who prayed for breakthrough in his finances. For months, nothing seemed to change. Then one day, a small opportunity came, a side job that didn't look like much. Instead of complaining, he treated it as seed. He set aside a portion to bless someone in need, and the rest to handle his commitments. That seed multiplied. Doors opened that he had not imagined. It wasn't magic, it was flow. He had learned the secret of being a channel. The Word of God declares in Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 25, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Do you see the circle? As you refresh others, heaven refreshes you. When you release, God releases. It is the divine rhythm of abundance. And now, I want to pause and speak plainly. If this message has poured into your life, if it has spoken to your journey, lifted your heart, or reminded you that you are chosen, then consider supporting the very work that made this message reach you. Just like a candle that gives light to a dark room, this channel exists to shine, but every candle needs oil to burn. When you press like, it is as if you're striking a match that helps the flame glow brighter. When you share, it's like carrying that torch into another dark room, letting someone else see the way. When you subscribe, you are saying, "I will return to the fire again and again, to keep my heart warm and my path clear." And if your heart feels stirred to go further, donating is not a demand, but like planting a tree whose shade will one day cover someone you may never meet. You're not buying blessing, you're releasing water into a well that will quench the thirst of others. And remember, every tree planted grows fruit for generations. No one is forced. No one is obligated. The flame will always burn. But if you choose to pour in a little oil, to plant a seed, or to carry the torch further, then you become part of the miracle itself. Do not underestimate what flows from your hands. Just as the boys' 5 loaves and 2 fish seemed small, yet fed thousands, what you release becomes multiplied in ways you may never see. But heaven says, and heaven never forgets, chosen one, Walk boldly now, knowing that provision has been assigned to you. You are not at the mercy of the world's economy. You are sustained by heaven's economy. And in that truth, you are free. So let the light continue. Like, share, subscribe, and if your spirit stirs, donate as an act of worship, not to buy favor, but to pour oil into the flame of a message that awakens hearts. It is voluntary, it is joyful, and it is powerful. Every gift you release, whether a simple click or a seed sown, echoes beyond what you can see. It becomes part of the story of countless chosen ones who find strength through this message. Do not measure it by size, measure it by obedience. A drop of water may look small, but enough drops together carve rivers through stone. So it is with your act of support. It shapes eternity in ways unseen. Walk forward with peace. Know that your steps are funded, your heart is guarded, and your mission is alive. You are not walking alone. Heaven walks with you, and the flame continues to burn because of hearts like yours. Chosen one, this is a sacred moment. Heaven is opening streams of overflow in your life, not a trickle, not just enough to survive, but a covenant of abundance. You are stepping into a rhythm where God Himself supplies, not because you earned it, but because He delights in you. Provision is not an accident, it is a covenant. For too long, you have felt as though your hands were empty. You gave, and it seemed like nothing came back. You prayed, and the silence tested your heart. Yet all along, God was watching. He was preparing to release resources at the right time, not early, not late, but perfect in its arrival. And that time is now. Imagine a vineyard in winter. The vines look bare, lifeless, almost forgotten. Yet deep in the soil, roots are drinking, storing strength. Then suddenly, when the season shifts, fruit bursts forth in abundance. That is your story. What looked barren is about to overflow with life. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Haggai. Chapter 2, Verse 9. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, says the Lord Almighty, and in this place I will grant peace. Do you understand? What comes next will outshine what has been. The former season of lack will look small compared to the abundance ahead. And not only provision, peace, because true abundance is not measured by coins, but by the quiet strength of knowing you are sustained by God. Chosen one. Covenant overflow means this: you are no longer struggling to hold on, you are learning to pour out. God funds your destiny so that through you, others will be refreshed. You become like a well in the desert, a living stream that never runs dry. Let me tell you about a chosen one who once shared his testimony. He spent years feeling like his prayers for provision were ignored. He fasted. He worked. But his cupboards often stayed empty. Then one day, in a season he least expected, opportunities opened. He began to receive not just enough for himself, but more than enough to help others. What broke him in his lack became the very ministry of his overflow. His story reminds us, provision is not about ego. It is about assignment. Picture a lamp in a dark room. One flame flickers, but if the oil keeps flowing, the flame never goes out. Overflow is like that oil. It ensures your light shines continually, never dimming, never lost. Others may sit in shadows, but your flame remains, guiding them out. Now, pause. There is a prophetic act you must take to align with this word. Type this number into the comments. 444. Why 444? Because it symbolizes the covenant of establishment and stability. It is a prophetic reminder that what God is releasing over you is not temporary, not fragile, but rooted deeply. When you write it, you are declaring, my provision is established, my overflow is stable, my destiny is fully funded. And do not take it lightly. Commenting this number is more than interaction. It is agreement. It is planting a marker in the spiritual realm, declaring that you receive what has been spoken. Heaven responds to faith, and your faith is not silent. Think about it. Noah built an ark before the rain came. That act was faith. Abraham left his land without knowing the destination. That step was faith. Typing erba me'ot erbaim ve'erba may look simple, but it is faith in action. It is you saying, I align myself with covenant overflow. Lo, chosen one. Your life will be a testimony that God funds His own assignments. You will not only have enough, you will become a channel of more than enough. People will look at you and wonder how you continue to give, how you continue to shine. And the answer will always be this: covenant overflow. So lift your head. Your hands will no longer feel empty. Your cupboards will no longer feel barren. Your soul will no longer feel forgotten. The God of covenant has remembered you, and He is pouring out a measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The vineyard of your life is coming alive again. The well is filling. The flame is supplied with oil, and your declaration 444 will stand as a sign that this is the hour of covenant overflow. Overflow is not about excess for vanity, but about stability for purpose. When heaven funds you, it is not to inflate your pride, but to anchor your mission. The number 444 you declare is a prophetic anchor. It means your life is not swaying with the winds anymore. It is rooted in God's unshakable covenant. So when you type it, do it with awareness. You are saying, my steps are secured. My provision is steady. My destiny is unstoppable. This is not just a number, it is a seal of faith that heaven recognizes and responds to. Chosen one. As you walk deeper into this journey, you will begin to see something astonishing. The very voices that once mocked you, the very forces that once resisted you, will grow silent. Heaven is moving in a way that causes your enemies to retreat, not because of your strength alone, but because of the hand of God upon you. For a long season, you carried the sting of rejection. People misread your motives, twisted your words, or dismissed your worth. At times, their opposition felt louder than your own courage. You wondered if maybe they were right, if perhaps your destiny was a mirage. But God does not let mockery have the final word. When He steps into your battle, He silences the noise. Think of Moses before Pharaoh. Pharaoh mocked, resisted, and hardened his heart. Yet with every sign and wonder, Pharaoh's voice grew weaker, until finally, the oppressor who claimed control had to release what he could no longer hold. The silence of your enemies will happen the same way, not all at once, but gradually. As God's hand makes resistance impossible, it was proclaimed in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5, You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Oh, notice the detail. God does not remove your enemies before blessing you. He blesses you in front of them. This is not to humiliate them, but to reveal his authority over every voice that dared to oppose you. Your victory becomes the testimony that no human opinion can overrule divine election. Consider the story of Esther. Haman schemed to destroy her people, plotting with confidence that his plan would succeed. Yet the very gallows he built became his downfall. What was intended for destruction turned into deliverance. In the same way, the traps set against you are turning into stepping stones. Your enemy's own schemes are collapsing under the weight of God's justice. Imagine standing in a courtroom where every accusation is hurled against you. The prosecutor lists every flaw, every mistake, every reason why you should be condemned. Then suddenly, the judge raises his hand and says, "Enough." Silence falls. No more arguments. The verdict is grace, and the case is closed. That is what heaven is doing in your story. The voices of accusation are being silenced once and for all. But do not miss this. The silence of enemies does not mean they disappear. It means they lose power. Their words no longer pierce. Their plans no longer prosper. They may still murmur, but their murmur holds no weight. What once paralyzed, you will now glance off like arrows that miss their mark. You are shielded, and the enemy knows it. There was a chosen one who shared how, for years, her workplace felt hostile. Colleagues whispered, leaders overlooked her, and opportunities slipped away. She carried the weight quietly, unsure if she could endure. But then, almost without explanation, those voices diminished. Promotions came. Favor followed. And the very people who once mocked her had no choice but to acknowledge her rise. She did not fight them with bitterness. God silenced them with blessing. You may feel the pressure of opposition now, but hold fast. The silence is coming. The table is being set. You will sit. You will eat. And your enemies will see not to glorify you, but to glorify the God who defends you. Picture a lion roaring in the night. Its sound shakes the ground, and smaller creatures scatter. But when the true king of the jungle walks in, the roar ceases, not because the lion loses its voice, but because it recognizes authority greater than itself. That is what happens when God enters your battles. Opposition cannot keep roaring when the king has arrived. Chosen one, you will know peace where once you only knew warfare. You will hear quiet where once you only heard accusation. And in that silence, your own voice will grow stronger, not in anger, but in confidence. For the God who anoints your head with oil is the same God who silences every storm around you. The silence of your enemies is not the end of their story, it is the beginning of yours. Their voices quiet so that your destiny can speak louder. The table God sets before you is not for vengeance, but for testimony, a stage where his faithfulness is displayed. So walk forward without fear. You do not need to defend yourself, for heaven has already spoken on your behalf. The hush around you is the sound of victory, and it means your steps are now free to move unhindered into the purpose waiting ahead. Chosen one, as the voices of opposition fade into silence, something else begins to rise around you. Favor, not ordinary favor that can be explained by charm or luck, but uncommon favor that marks you as set apart. This is the kind of favor that unlocks doors without you even knocking, that brings people to you instead of you chasing them. that shifts conversations in your direction when your name is mentioned. Uncommon favor is like the morning dew on grass. You cannot force it. You cannot control it. And you cannot predict where it will settle. Yet when it arrives, everything glistens with a quiet beauty. This favor will rest on your life in the same way. It will make even ordinary things shimmer with extraordinary impact. Think of Ruth, the Moabite widow. By every natural measure, she was an outsider, overlooked, and without inheritance. Yet when she chose faithfulness, favor followed her into the fields of Boaz. She went out looking for scraps, but favor positioned her for a future beyond anything she imagined. That is what uncommon favor does. It transforms leftovers into legacies. It was written in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." This is the essence of uncommon favor. Not that life is without difficulty, but that wherever you go, God goes with you. His presence tilts the atmosphere, and what could have been rejection becomes recognition. What could have been closed becomes open. Picture walking into a marketplace with thousands of stalls. Everyone is shouting, selling, trying to get attention. Yet as you pass by, a space clears, and suddenly, people notice you without you saying a word. That is favor. It is the invisible magnet of heaven, pulling opportunities into your orbit. There was a chosen one who carried this testimony for years. She applied for jobs, faced rejection after rejection, and almost gave up. Then one day, she walked into an interview where the atmosphere shifted the moment she spoke. The employer said, "I don't know why, but I feel like we've been waiting for you." That is what uncommon favor does. It turns a no into a yes that cannot be explained by skill alone. And here is the secret. Uncommon favor is not earned. It is entrusted. God releases it on those who have been refined in waiting. You endured hidden battles. You survived silent seasons. And now, heaven says you can be trusted with favor. Because favor is not for pride, it is for purpose. It draws you where you need to be so that His plan can unfold. Imagine a key that fits no ordinary lock. It may seem useless until you find the one door it was made for. Suddenly, that key becomes priceless. You are that key. For years, you felt like you didn't fit, like you didn't belong in rooms where others seemed to thrive. But uncommon favor is the door that your life was made to open. And when you step through, you will understand why the waiting was necessary. Chosen one. Uncommon favor is not fragile. It will not shatter when criticized. It will not vanish when doubted. It is steady because it is built on God's decree, not on human applause. Even those who once ignored you will not be able to deny the weight of favor resting on you. It will speak louder than explanations, louder than defense, louder than anything you could try to prove. Remember Joseph again. One day he was in a dungeon, forgotten. The next day, favor called him to the palace. That leap was not logic, it was God's timing. And when favor comes, it does not crawl, it accelerates. Expect sudden movements, unexpected alignments, rapid changes that lift you into places where only God's hand could place you. So, carry yourself with quiet confidence. Do not chase what is already chasing you. Walk as one who knows that uncommon favor is drawn to them like rivers to the sea. Opportunities will flow, not because you demanded them, but because heaven has marked you with irresistible light. Chosen one. Uncommon favor is your new atmosphere, and once it begins, it does not stop. It grows. It multiplies. It carries you into rooms you never imagined, until your life itself becomes living proof that God delights to lift the ones He has chosen. Favor is not fleeting. Chosen one, it is your garment now. Walk clothed in it, knowing every step forward carries the fragrance of heaven's approval and heaven's unstoppable decree. Chosen one. Now, we must speak about the power of alignment. It is not enough to walk with favor if your heart and words do not align with heaven's decree. What you speak in faith becomes the echo heaven uses to unlock doors. What you whisper in agreement becomes the seed of manifestation. This is why your response matters. For years, your words may have been silenced. You endured ridicule, rejection, and hidden battles that made you afraid to speak. But this is the season where your voice rises again. Not a voice of complaint or doubt, but a voice of agreement with what God has already spoken over you. Scripture says in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 19, "If two of you on earth agree about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven." Agreement is power. Agreement is alignment. When you say yes to what God declares, heaven responds with release. And you are not agreeing with chance. You are aligning with eternal promises that cannot fail. Picture a tuning fork. When it strikes, the sound it makes causes other instruments tuned to the same pitch to vibrate in harmony. That is what happens when your voice aligns with heaven. It sets the atmosphere in motion. Suddenly, doors swing open, and what was locked begins to shake free. There was a chosen one who shared how she shifted her life by changing her words. For years, she spoke fear, and fear multiplied. Then she began speaking faith. Even when her eyes saw nothing, she said daily, "God is my provider. My steps are secure." Slowly, her circumstances bent to the sound of her words, until provision and stability began to flow. You may feel like your voice is small, like your words carry no weight. But in the spiritual realm, your declaration is thunder. Heaven hears, and hell trembles. Angels move when you align with what God has decreed. This is why it matters to not stay silent right now. Chosen one. Respond with faith. Write these words in the comments. I align. Lam. Why this phrase? Because I align is more than agreement. It is positioning. When you type those words, you are declaring that your heart, your mind, and your actions are stepping into the same rhythm as God's promise. You are saying, I will no longer resist or doubt. I align myself with what heaven has already prepared for me. This is a prophetic act. Think of railway tracks. A train has all the power in the world. But if the tracks are misaligned, it cannot move forward. By writing, I align, you are laying your tracks straight again, ensuring that your destiny moves in the right direction with unstoppable momentum. So type it with conviction, I align, and let those two words mark this season of your life. A season where heaven's decree becomes your declaration, and your declaration becomes your doorway into promise. Alignment is not passive, it is an active choice. When you say, I align, you are refusing to let your emotions or circumstances dictate your direction. You are choosing to bend your life toward God's truth. Even when feelings scream otherwise, think of a compass. No matter how the traveler wanders, the needle always points north. By declaring, I align, you are saying, my compass is set on heaven's north. My steps will follow his true direction, even if I do not see the map. This act carries weight in the unseen realm. Heaven moves toward those who align, because alignment proves trust. When you align with God's word, you declare that his promises outweigh your doubts, that his voice overrules the noise of fear. Consider Abraham. When he aligned with God's command to leave his homeland, he didn't have a destination, only a direction. Yet his alignment birthed nations. Your declaration might feel small, but the ripple effects are generational. By writing, I align, you are also rejecting double-mindedness. The book of James warns that a double-minded person is unstable in all they do. Alignment stabilizes you. It makes your faith steady, your heart secure, your vision clear. So let this not be a fleeting comment. Let it be a covenant. I align means I choose obedience over hesitation, faith over fear, destiny over distraction. And as you stand in that alignment, heaven's resources, favor, and promises rush to meet you on the path already marked by God. Alignment seals destiny. When you whisper, I align, you plant your feet firmly on holy ground, refusing to waver. This is not just confession, it is movement. Your future bends toward victory because heaven honors your stand. Chosen one, your harvest is near. The tears you sowed in silence, the prayers you whispered in the dark, the sacrifices no one acknowledged, they were not wasted. They became seeds, planted deep in the soil of time. Now heaven declares it is harvest season. Harvest is a holy mystery. A farmer cannot make rain fall, cannot command the sun to rise, cannot force the seed to break open. All he can do is plant faithfully, wait patiently, and trust that nature, God's nature, will bring increase. That has been your life. You planted kindness when no one returned it. You gave when your own hands felt empty. You prayed when you were tired of praying. And now, the field of your faith is turning golden. The writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 126, verse 5. Proclaim, those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Chosen one, do you see? Your sorrow is not the end of the story. It was the water that nourished your seed. Every tear that fell was counted. And now joy is sprouting from the same ground where pain once ruled. Imagine a vineyard after a storm, branches broken, soil muddy, vines battered. It looks ruined, but when the season shifts, new leaves appear, clusters of grapes grow heavy, and wine sweeter than before is pressed. That is you. The storm did not destroy your harvest, it enriched it. And let me say this, the fruit is not only for you. Just as a single apple tree can feed a family, shade the weary, and scatter seeds for future orchards, your harvest will bless more lives than you can count. You are not just reaping, you are becoming a source of nourishment to others. Now pause with me. If this word has watered your spirit, if you feel the truth of harvest stirring in your heart, I invite you to act not from pressure, not from obligation, but from love. When you press like, it is as if you are leaving a footprint on sacred ground, saying, "Yes, I walked through this field of harvest, and I will not forget it." When you share, it is like carrying a basket of ripe fruit into another home, feeding someone who may have been starving in silence. When you subscribe, you are building a shelter beside this vineyard, returning again and again to watch it grow, to taste, and to rest. And if your heart is stirred to donate, do it as if you are pouring fresh water into the roots of this vineyard, ensuring that even when you walk away, life will keep springing forth for others. A chosen one once told me her story. She had so little, yet when she gave, she said it felt like handing a cup of water to God Himself. Later, she watched as her own life overflowed in unexpected ways, relationships restored, opportunities unlocked, peace returning. That is what giving does. It turns scarcity into abundance, not by force, but by flow. Hear me clearly. Nothing here is demanded. This harvest is God's promise, not man's transaction. But when you choose to participate, you become part of the beauty of it. It is like entering a field at sunset, gathering fruit with your own hands, and knowing, I help this harvest come alive. So, chosen one, rejoice. Your harvest is here, and it is overflowing. Walk into it with open hands, ready to receive, ready to give, and ready to live as proof that God never forgets the seeds sown in faith. And as you step forward, remember, like, share, subscribe, and if your heart leads, donate, not out of duty, but out of joy, because harvest is always sweeter when shared. Your harvest is not only personal, it is generational. The seeds you planted in pain are rising now as blessings that will ripple into the lives of those connected to you. Children, friends, even strangers will taste from the fruit you never thought would grow. Do not underestimate what God has been weaving in silence. The small choices, the hidden acts of kindness, the sacrifices no one noticed, all of them have been woven together like threads in a tapestry. Now the picture is being revealed, and it is beautiful. Every detail, even the ones you wish to erase, has found its place in the pattern of glory. So lift your eyes and step into this season boldly. You are not gathering scraps. You are walking through fields heavy with grain. You are not returning empty-handed. You are carrying baskets full. And as you walk, remember, your song of joy is not just for you. It is a melody that awakens hope in others, still sowing through tears. Chosen one, as your harvest ripens and the abundance begins to flow, something greater is being placed upon your life. The mantle of the chosen. This mantle is not fabric or thread, it is weight, authority, and calling. It is the invisible cloak that heaven places on those who have endured the testing, passed the trials, and proven faithful in the shadows. Think of Elijah casting his mantle upon Elisha in the fields. Elisha was just plowing, doing ordinary work, when suddenly destiny interrupted him. That mantle changed everything. It marked the end of obscurity and the beginning of visibility. It was not simply a garment, but a transfer of mission, a declaration that he was no longer living for himself, but for the purposes of heaven. Chosen one, you are in that moment now. The mantle rests on your shoulders, and it carries both privilege and responsibility. It is privilege because heaven trusts you with authority. It is responsibility because heaven expects you to walk in that authority with humility and boldness. The book of Isaiah, chapter 60, 1, verse 1, declares, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the broken-hearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners." This scripture is the definition of the mantle. It is not about status, but service. The mantle equips you to lift others, to break chains, to heal wounds, and to shine light into places of darkness. It is power, but it is power for purpose. Imagine a crown placed upon the head of a king. It glitters with jewels, yet the weight of it presses down, reminding him that leadership is not ease but burden. The mantle is like that crown. It dignifies you, but it also reminds you that you are chosen not to escape the world's pain, but to carry God's presence into it. There was once a woman who carried such a mantle. She had been ordinary, working unnoticed, living simply, but her spirit burned with quiet devotion. When the mantle fell upon her, she began to see differently. She could sense needs before people spoke them, and words of life flowed from her lips as naturally as breath. People who were weary found peace in her presence, because the mantle transformed her from ordinary into a vessel of the extraordinary. Your mantle may not look like hers. For some, it is the gift of wisdom, the ability to speak truth in moments of confusion. For others, it is compassion, the power to comfort and strengthen. For others still, it is boldness, the courage to confront injustice. But all mantles flow from one source, the Spirit of the Lord resting upon you. Do not fear the weight you feel. Now it is not meant to crush you, but to steady you, just as a bird needs weight in its wings to catch the wind. You need the weight of this mantle to rise into your destiny. Without it, you would drift. With it, you soar. Picture yourself walking through a storm with a heavy cloak wrapped around you. While others are tossed by the wind, your mantle anchors you. It shields you, keeps you steady, and gives you authority to press forward. That is what the mantle of the chosen does. It covers you in trials and equips you for triumphs. But remember, the mantle is never about comfort alone. Elisha, after receiving Elijah's mantle, did not sit in luxury. He split rivers. He healed waters. He multiplied oil for the widow. The mantle pushed him into service, into demonstration, into visible acts of God's power. In the same way, your mantle will not let you settle into ordinary existence. It will drive you to live differently, to walk boldly, to shine brightly. Chosen one, do not shrink back now. The mantle is not fragile. It was forged in your suffering, stitched together with your prayers, and woven by God's own hand. Wear it with courage, wear it with humility, and know that as you step forward, the world will recognize not you, but the Spirit that rests upon you. You are mantled for this moment, and the weight you feel now is not a burden, it is a crown. Chosen one. Never forget, the mantle on your life is proof that heaven trusts you. It is both shield and assignment, both covering and commission. Step with confidence beneath its weight. For every step you take in obedience, the mantle will reveal new strength, new authority, and new victories waiting to unfold. Chosen one, now is the time to enlarge your vision. You have walked through the waiting, endured the hidden battles, carried the mantle, and now heaven is opening doors of expansion before you. What once felt too narrow, too small for your calling, is being widened. You will not remain confined. God is stretching the borders of your life. Expansion does not always begin with more. It begins with space, like a wineskin that must be stretched before it can hold new wine. Your life has been pulled, tested, and even torn in places. It hurt. It felt uncomfortable. But that stretching was preparation. Without it, you could not carry what is coming now. The writings of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 2. Proclaim, enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. And this is heaven's call over you. Do not hold back. Do not think small. Do not assume that yesterday's limits define tomorrow's possibilities. You are called to expand. Picture a potter at the wheel. At first, the clay is a small lump, spinning, shapeless. The potter presses his hands deep into the clay, pulling and stretching it higher, wider, stronger. The clay resists. It feels pressure, but slowly it takes form, a vessel large enough to carry what it was always meant to hold. That is what God has done in you. The pressure was never to break you, but to expand your capacity. Expansion also means influence. Where once your voice was limited to a few, it will now reach many. Where your actions touched only those close to you, they will ripple outward into unexpected places. You are becoming a stone dropped in still waters. Your ripples will travel farther than your eyes can see. There was a chosen one who felt her life was too small. She worked faithfully, but quietly, unseen by most. She dreamed of doing more, yet every attempt seemed blocked. Then one day, opportunities opened, an invitation to speak, a chance to mentor. Platforms she never pursued, but which pursued her. Suddenly, her influence stretched far beyond her own community. That is expansion. It does not ask your permission. It responds to your preparation. But here is the truth. Expansion is not automatic. It requires your agreement. You must be willing to step through the wide door when it opens, to take the risk of walking into spaces you once thought were beyond you. Fear will try to whisper, "This is too much, too soon." But courage will remind you, "This is what I was born for." Picture standing before a river that has outgrown its banks. It floods into new territory. Unstoppable. That is your destiny. Now it cannot be confined. Expansion is not just opportunity, it is inevitability. The call on your life is too great to stay small. Now, as a prophetic act, align yourself with this word. Write this number in the comments: 888. Why 888? Because it represents new beginnings multiplied, doors that not only open but remain open, and the eternal flow of heaven's abundance. When you type 888, you are declaring, "I step into expansion. I will not shrink back. I welcome the stretching, the widening, the increase." Alu, do not underestimate this act. Numbers in Scripture always carry meaning. 8 is the number of new beginnings. Noah stepped into a new world with 8 souls saved in the ark. By writing 888, you are saying, I embrace not just one new beginning, but an overflowing cycle of them. My life will continually expand, and I will carry the capacity for more. Now, this is not a mere interaction on a screen, it is a prophetic echo. When you comment 888, heaven hears your agreement and aligns opportunities with your faith. Chosen one, expansion is your inheritance. You will not remain confined. Your tent will stretch. Your cords will lengthen. Your influence will multiply. And as you step into this wide place, remember, it is not for pride, but for purpose. The larger your reach, the more lives you carry with you. So lift your eyes. The borders are moving. The doors are opening. The space is widening. Step boldly into expansion, for heaven has declared it over your life. Expansion means learning to breathe in larger spaces. When you step into a wide place, at first it may feel overwhelming. But remember, you were not stretched for nothing. The preparation was to make you strong enough to stand where others stumble. By declaring 888, you are sealing your readiness. It is not just about open doors, it is about capacity to thrive once you walk through them. Heaven does not waste expansion. It entrusts it to those who can carry the weight with grace. Chosen one. When heaven marks you, it also gives you something unshakable, identity, not the fragile kind built on achievements, appearances, or opinions, but the kind forged in fire, anchored in eternity, and untouchable by the shifting winds of this world. You are not defined by your scars, your failures, or the voices that tried to label you. You are defined by the one who called you before you were formed in the womb. For too long, you may have wrestled with questions of worth. You wondered if your mistakes disqualified you, if your past spoke louder than your future. But those doubts are illusions, shadows cast by lies. The truth is this: you are unshakable because your identity is written in heaven's record, not man's. The Apostle Paul reminds us in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 38 and 39, "For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation, will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord." This is your anchor. Nothing can pull you away from who you are in Him. You are beloved. You are chosen. You are His. That is the foundation of your identity. Picture a lighthouse standing on a rocky cliff. Waves crash against it with relentless force. Storms roar around it. Yet it stands unmoved. The lighthouse does not fight the storm. It simply remains what it was built to be, a beacon of light. That is you. Your unshakable identity is not about fighting every storm, but about standing, shining, and refusing to move from who you are in God. There was once a man who struggled deeply with shame. Every time he tried to step forward, the memory of his past whispered, "You are unworthy." Yet as he grew in the Word, he realized that shame was no longer his name. He began to declare, "I am forgiven. I am free." Slowly, those declarations reshaped his life. Opportunities came, confidence returned, and peace replaced torment. Why? Because he finally embraced his unshakable identity. Chosen one. Your identity is not fragile glass. It is carved stone. It cannot be shattered by opinions, nor erased by mistakes. You may stumble, but you will not fall away. You may be pressed, but you will not be crushed. The seal of God is upon you, and that seal is unbreakable. Think of a tree planted by a river. Storms may strip its leaves. Drought may dry the ground around it, but its roots remain deep in the flowing waters. Season after season, it stands, and in due time, it bears fruit again. You are that tree, rooted in divine love, unshaken by circumstances, destined to thrive again and again. Do not underestimate this gift. Identity is armor. When the enemy cannot defeat you, he tries to confuse you. If he can make you doubt who you are, he can slow your steps. But when you know your identity, every lie crumbles. When Jesus was baptized, the heavens declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Before miracles, before ministry, his identity was affirmed. So it is with you. Your assignment flows from your identity, not the other way around. Chosen one, walk with your head high, not with arrogance, but with assurance. You are not easily swayed because your roots are deep. You are not easily shaken because your foundation is firm. And when others look at you and wonder why you do not collapse under pressure, your life itself will answer, "Because I know who I am." Mdu. So, hold this truth close. Your name is written in heaven. Your worth is sealed by blood. Your calling is guarded by grace. No storm can unwrite it. No voice can undo it. No failure can erase it. You are unshakable, and your identity is eternal. Identity is not something you achieve, it is something you receive. When you finally rest in who God says you are, striving ends. You stop chasing validation from people, because heaven's validation already covers you. Chosen one. This is your shield in the days ahead. Opinions will rise and fall, but they cannot uproot a tree planted in living water. You may bend in the wind, but you will not break, because your roots are eternal. So, breathe deeply and stand tall. Your unshakable identity is your greatest strength. It whispers to the world, "I know who I am, and I know whose I am." From this truth, courage flows, peace grows, and destiny unfolds without fear. Chosen one. There is a mystery unfolding in your life that many overlook, but heaven does not. The transfer of resources. Scripture speaks of a moment when the wealth of the wicked is laid in the hands of the righteous, not for greed, but for purpose. What once was misused and misplaced will be redirected into the hands of those who will use it for the glory of God. For too long, you have watched others prosper who seemed to mock righteousness. You saw corruption thrive while integrity struggled. You felt the sting of lack while others boasted of excess. It looked unfair, and you wondered if heaven saw, but nothing escapes his eye. In his timing, he realigns resources. For justice is woven into the fabric of his kingdom. The word of God declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 22, "The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just." Do you see it? This is not about sudden riches for comfort's sake. It is about repositioning. When the wicked misuse resources for selfishness, God in his justice redirects those resources toward his chosen. so that what was once corrupted becomes consecrated. Picture a dam holding back a river. For years, the water builds up, trapped, misdirected. But when the dam breaks, the flow rushes into dry places, filling valleys that were parched. That is what the transfer looks like. The resources once withheld are released, rushing toward the assignments God has placed in your hands. There was a chosen one who shared his testimony of working faithfully with little, while others around him gained wealth through manipulation. He remained honest. At times he felt foolish for choosing integrity. Yet, years later, those who built on lies fell, and opportunities opened for him that carried both provision and honor. The very doors once locked against him swung wide, and the resources he once lacked came rushing in. Integrity became the magnet for transfer. This transfer is not only about finances, it is about influence, connections, ideas, opportunities. The stage once used for deception will be given to truth-bearers. The platform once used for vanity will be entrusted to voices of wisdom. The resources once hoarded will fund missions of compassion. God does not merely take from the wicked, he redeems what they misused and places it in the hands of the chosen. Imagine a relay race. One runner sprints forward, carrying the baton with pride, but then stumbles and falls. The baton does not vanish, it must be passed on. The next runner takes it and continues the race. In the same way, when those who misuse wealth stumble, the baton of resources is passed into your hands, because you are trusted to finish the race with honor. Chosen one. Do not think this transfer will come without responsibility. To be entrusted with resources is to be entrusted with stewardship. Just as Joseph managed the storehouses of Egypt to feed nations in famine, so you too are being prepared to manage provision, not only for yourself, but for many. The blessing is not for hoarding, it is for multiplying. The silence of your enemies, the favor upon your life, the mantle on your shoulders, all of these have been preparation for this very moment. You have been tested with little, and now heaven entrusts you with more. This transfer is not random, it is reward and responsibility. So lift your eyes. Where others see only imbalance, you will see divine reversal. Where others see corruption flourishing, you will see justice working quietly. And when the release comes, you will know it is not coincidence, it is covenant. Chosen one. The wealth of the wicked is not lost. It is waiting, reserved, and in God's time, it will flow into your hands. Not so you can boast, but so you can build. Not so you can consume, but so you can contribute. And as this transfer takes place, the world will see a living testimony that God's justice always prevails, and his chosen are never forsaken. The transfer is not an accident, it is assignment. What flows into your hands carries a mission stamped upon it. It is heaven saying, I trust you to direct this for my glory. Oh, chosen one, do not shrink from this trust. The same God who gave the resources will also give you wisdom to steward them. What once seemed too heavy will now become your testimony of grace. And when others ask how you received what they lost, your answer will be simple. It was never mine alone. It was heaven's justice, heaven's mercy, and heaven's trust placed into my care. Chosen one. The journey you have walked so far has not been light. There were valleys of tears, mountains of resistance, and storms that threatened to swallow your voice. Yet here you are still standing, still chosen, still walking in the flow of heaven's plan. And now, a call goes out not only to receive, but also to journey together. This is not just about one person's story, it is about a movement of chosen ones rising in every corner of the earth. When light gathers with light, darkness retreats further. When voices of faith join, the sound becomes thunder in the heavens. That is why your presence here is not small, it matters. You are part of something larger than yourself. The Apostle wrote in Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 24, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds." Your walk is never meant to be isolated. Just as sparks form a fire only when gathered, so too do chosen ones shine brighter when connected. And this connection is not mechanical, it is living, breathing, like branches woven into the same vine. Imagine walking through a great cathedral. The structure is magnificent, but what holds it up are countless stones, each fitted into place. One stone alone seems ordinary, but together they form arches that stretch toward heaven. That is what this movement is, you and others like you, becoming living stones in a sanctuary that cannot be shaken. And here is where your choice enters in. To keep this sanctuary alive, it takes not only presence, but also participation, not duty, not pressure, participation born of love. Every act of engagement is like placing your stone into the cathedral wall, ensuring the structure rises higher. When you press like, it is as if you are lighting a candle in this cathedral, one small flame. But when joined with others, the whole sanctuary glows. When you share, it is like opening the cathedral doors and letting passers-by step into the light. Perhaps for the first time, finding warmth they didn't know they needed. When you subscribe, you are building a shelter beside this vineyard, returning again and again to watch it grow, to taste, and to rest. And when you leave a comment, think of it as carving a prayer into the stone walls of this cathedral. Words written here do not vanish, they echo like hymns, reminding others they are not alone. Every comment becomes a voice in the choir, and the choir strengthens the sanctuary. And if your heart stirs to donate, imagine it as pouring fresh oil into the lamps of the sanctuary. Without oil, even the strongest flame eventually fades. With oil, the lamps burn continually, guiding weary travelers who stumble in from the dark night. Notice how none of these are demands. They are invitations. A cathedral does not force anyone to bring a candle, or to open the doors, or to pour oil. But when people choose to, the beauty multiplies. In the same way, this space flourishes not from obligation, but from willing hearts. Let me share the story of a chosen one who once thought her voice didn't matter. She quietly watched, never engaging, convinced her contribution would be too small. One day, she decided to add her light, to share a word, to sow a seed. Later, she learned that her small act had touched someone on the other side of the world, giving them hope at the brink of despair. What seemed tiny became eternal. That is the nature of these acts. A like becomes a candle, a share becomes an open door, a subscription becomes a stone in the foundation, a comment becomes a hymn echoing in the walls, a donation becomes oil that keeps the flame burning, and all of them together create a sanctuary of light where countless souls find refuge. Chosen one. You are not a spectator. You are part of the structure, part of the fire, part of the light. And whether you bring a flame, a door, a stone, a hymn, or oil, it is all beautiful in the eyes of heaven. So let your heart respond freely, choose joyfully, and know that every act you make here is not lost. It is etched into eternity's cathedral. A testimony that you walked in the light and helped others find it too. Every gesture, no matter how small, becomes part of this living cathedral. It is not the size of the act that matters, but the love behind it. And heaven treasures every piece. Chosen one, let your light remain. For in your candle, your hymn, your stone, your oil, eternity sees beauty that will never fade. Chosen one, every season of private testing eventually gives way to a season of public unveiling. What was hidden in shadows, what was wrestled for in silence, what was birthed through tears, it is now being revealed before the eyes of many. This unveiling is not for vanity, but for testimony. It is heaven's way of saying, what I began in secret, I will now complete in the open. For years, you may have felt unseen. You labored faithfully. You prayed earnestly. You obeyed quietly. But no spotlight ever seemed to shine your way. Yet heaven was recording it all. Every moment of obedience was written down. Every sacrifice weighed. Every whispered yes preserved. And now, God is lifting the curtain so others may see the fruit of what was planted in the dark. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6. Your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you openly. That is the pattern of the kingdom. God treasures the secret place, but He does not keep His rewards hidden forever. He allows them to blossom in the open so that your testimony becomes a beacon to others. Imagine a seed pressed into soil. For months, no one sees it. Rain falls, sun shines, but still, nothing appears. Then one day, a green shoot breaks the surface. Soon it grows tall. Flowers bloom, and fruit forms. Passers-by admire its beauty, but they never saw the months underground. That is your story. The unveiling is happening, but only heaven knows the depth of your unseen roots. Think of Joseph once again. For years, he was hidden in dungeons, forgotten by men, but remembered by God. Then, in a single day, the doors opened, and he was elevated before the highest throne in Egypt. What was private became public. What was hidden became undeniable. And his unveiling was not for his pride, but for the salvation of many. Chosen one. Your unveiling carries the same purpose. The recognition coming to you is not a reward for ego, it is a platform for impact. God is placing you in visible spaces, not so people will glorify you, but so they will glorify Him through you. There was a young woman who once thought her prayers had no effect. For years, she interceded in secret, asking God to move in her community. Few knew her name. Few noticed her presence. Yet one day, revival broke out. Hearts shifted. Doors opened. Lives transformed. When people traced the spark, they discovered her hidden prayers had been the tinder. Suddenly, her hidden labor was unveiled, and her testimony gave courage to many others to keep praying in their own secret places. This unveiling season may feel uncomfortable, After years of obscurity, suddenly eyes are watching, ears are listening, expectations are rising, but do not let it shake you. The same God who held you in the shadows will steady you in the spotlight. You are not being revealed because you are perfect. You are being revealed because you are ready. Picture a crown that has long been hidden in a chest. Dust gathers on it, but it remains gold. It remains set with jewels. When the time is right, the chest is opened, the crown is lifted, and placed where it belongs. That crown is you, hidden for a time, but never forgotten, waiting for the moment of unveiling. And here is the key: unveiling does not change who you are. It simply reveals what you already carry. The oil was poured on David's head long before the throne was given to him. The mantle rested on Elisha's shoulders before his miracles were known. In the same way, your calling is not created by unveiling. It is only displayed. Chosen one. Step forward with quiet confidence. You do not need to strive for attention. Heaven is already amplifying your voice. You do not need to prove your worth. Your life itself is proof. Simply walk in what you have always been, and let God reveal the rest. The unveiling has begun. Wear it with humility. Carry it with courage. For what was private is now becoming public. And through you, the glory of God will shine in places that once sat in silence. Chosen one, do not fear the light that now shines on you. It is not a spotlight meant to expose weakness, but a sunrise meant to reveal growth that could no longer stay hidden. Stand with peace, for in this unveiling, the world will finally see what heaven has always known about you. Chosen one. This is the hour where destiny itself is fully funded. You have walked through shadows, endured silence, carried mantles, and now you arrive at the threshold of fulfillment. What once seemed distant is unfolding before you, not in fragments, but in fullness. The season of scraping by, of stretching every resource thin, has ended. You are stepping into a rhythm where nothing is withheld from you that heaven has decreed. For too long, you may have lived with a scarcity mindset, always wondering if there would be enough strength, enough provision, enough opportunity. Yet heaven whispers now, I am enough for you. The God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the God who multiplies loaves and fish, the God who brings water from rock is the same God who now sustains your destiny. The ancient words of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 19, declare, and my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. Now, this is more than promise, it is reality. Not partial supply, but total. Not survival, but overflow. You are not merely funded for a moment, but for a mission. Destiny is not a single event, it is a lifelong unfolding. And heaven has committed itself to resourcing you for every step. Picture a river flowing from a mountain spring. No matter how much water is drawn, the spring never runs dry. Buckets can be filled, cups can be dipped, fields can be irrigated, but the source remains. That river is your provision. Your destiny is not tied to one employer, one opportunity, or one connection. It is tied to the source that never dries. Think of Israel in the wilderness. For 40 years, manna came daily. They never lacked. Shoes did not wear out. Clothes did not tear. It was heaven's way of saying, as long as you walk with me, You will not be forsaken. In the same way, your journey may carry deserts, but the supply will not cease. Where others starve, you will be fed. Where others thirst, you will drink. There was a chosen one who testified of starting with nothing but a vision. At times, he felt crushed under the weight of lack. Yet at each stage, provision appeared not ahead of time, but right on time, just enough to take the next step, until suddenly, doors opened into abundance. Looking back, he realized the scarcity was only an illusion. Heaven had funded him all along, in ways he did not see. Chosen one. Funding destiny does not always mean piles of gold at your feet. It means heaven aligning resources, people, opportunities, ideas, strength, exactly when you need them. Sometimes it is financial. Sometimes it is wisdom. Sometimes it is courage. But always, it is enough. Picture a torch being passed down a line. The flame burns bright because oil is supplied. If the oil ceases, the torch dies. But if the oil keeps flowing, the light endures through generations. That is your destiny. Now, it will not flicker out, because heaven is the supplier of your oil. Do not fear the path ahead. You will not walk it with empty hands. God's storehouses are not limited, and He has already assigned what you need. The same Spirit that clothed Gideon with courage, the same Spirit that gave Solomon wisdom, the same Spirit that strengthened Paul in prison is the Spirit sustaining you. Chosen one, lift your eyes. See the fields around you ripe, waiting, ready. Your destiny is not just for you. It is for those fields, and because heaven has funded you, you can step into them without fear of lack. You are equipped, supplied, resourced, empowered. So walk boldly. You are not entering with scarcity, but with sufficiency. You are not clutching crumbs, but carrying baskets full. This is the unveiling of your destiny. Fully funded, fully supplied, fully alive. Nothing withheld, nothing missing, nothing broken. Destiny fully funded means you never again walk in fear of running out. It is the assurance that heaven's hand will always meet your step. Each path you take has already been resourced before you arrive. Chosen one. Your trust is the key. Scarcity taught you to cling tightly, but this season invites you to walk with open hands. You will see streams open where deserts once stretched, and manna fall where emptiness once lingered. So, step with boldness. What you carry is not fragile. It is sustained by eternity itself. Your destiny is not delayed, not denied, not diminished. It is alive, funded, and unstoppable. You are proof that heaven supplies those who are chosen. Chosen one. We have walked together from the shadows of testing into the radiance of destiny fully supplied. Every word has been part of a larger design, reminding you that you are chosen, seen, and sustained. But the journey does not pause here. This is only the beginning of something greater. Now imagine this space as a temple of light, rising in the middle of the world's darkness. Every act of yours is a brick, a flame, or a song that strengthens this temple and keeps it shining. Nothing is forced. Everything is a gift of love. When you press like, it is as if you are placing a small candle upon the altar. One candle may be modest, but when many gather, the entire temple glows with warmth. When you share, It is like opening the temple doors wide, letting the wandering souls outside step into safety, finding the glow they did not know they needed. When you subscribe, you are laying a foundation stone into the floor, choosing to return, choosing to dwell, choosing to help the temple endure. When you comment, think of it as etching a prayer into the temple walls. Words carved there do not vanish, they remain, whispering strength to those who come after you. And if your heart stirs to donate, it is like pouring sacred oil into the golden lamps of this temple, ensuring the flame never fades, and that weary travelers always find light waiting for them. None of these are burdens. They are offerings. The Temple of Light is built not by pressure, but by the willing hands and willing hearts of the chosen. So walk forward with peace. Add your candle. Open the doors. Lay your stone. Carve your prayer. Pour your oil. Together, we are raising a light the darkness cannot overcome.